TrueFi is a hybrid DeFi and CeFi protocol for uncollateralized lending, not under-collateralized, uncollateralized. And it's hard to overstate the value that this brings to lenders as well as borrowers. Because they are uncollateralized, these loans are only available to institutions who pass rigorous credit checks. But once that process is complete and true token holders vote to approve them, they start taking on these short-term loans. And then that is where the real benefits come into play for TrueFi stakers and lenders. Welcome to DeFi Now. I'm Josh Cross, and I don't run ads on this channel because ads suck. So if you hate ads as much as I do, and you like the content I'm sharing, then make sure to subscribe down there with a bell notification. It's the best way to help this channel grow, and then that way you don't miss out when I upload a new video. Now I do want to point out that although this video is not sponsored, and it does reflect my own research and my opinions, I did do a sponsored interview with Rafael Cosman, the CEO of TrueFi. We went into a lot more detail in that interview, so if you'd like to learn more after getting the gist from this video, check out that one from the link in the description. Now let's jump in. TrueFi fills an important missing piece of the DeFi puzzle, and that's uncollateralized lending. Most borrowers in DeFi have to provide collateral that's around 3 times what they want to borrow. So you want to borrow $100? Great, just deposit $300 worth of crypto. You could deposit less than that, but then with the volatility, you run a higher risk of liquidation. But these kinds of loans are still beneficial because you don't have to sell your crypto to gain liquidity, which would then be a taxable event and it limits your upside potential. However, if you want to take out a $1 million loan or a $25 million loan, do you really want to lock up $3 million or $75 million worth of collateral? Or do you want to use that collateral for other purposes that can generate yield? This is where TrueFi comes in. The average TrueFi loan is over $5 million, so we're talking about institutions who would rather go through the credit check than take on an over-collateralized loan. And because of this, they're willing to pay a much higher interest rate. So from a lending standpoint, you can earn a higher yield than you'd be able to get in other protocols. Looking at USDC, for example, you'd typically earn around 2% APY for lending, whereas on TrueFi, at the time of recording, this is 3.5% APY. And it's even higher rates if you lend either Tether or TrueUSD. So then the next question is, how are these institutions vetted to avoid defaults? And the answer is twofold. First, they have to go through KYC and AML check. They sign a master loan agreement and complete a credit review. This is a standard process in traditional finance, and it's the centralized aspect to TrueFi. This way, if they default, there are legal ramifications that they'll have to pay. So only institutions that go through this rigorous process make it to the next step, which is where the DeFi starts to kick in. Institutions need to make a post on the TrueFi forum providing information about their fund. This generally includes the name of their fund, social media links, website, what kind of loans they'd like, their assets under management, trading strategy, the use of funds, and other relevant information like that. And I'll put a link in the description where you can check out the existing posts. Just make sure to subscribe on your way down there. From then on, everything happens on-chain. TrueFi stakers take a look at the forum post, and then they have an opportunity to comment and ask questions. The purpose of the forum is for TrueFi stakers to get an understanding of the company because they are the ones who will vote on whether to approve or deny any loans. Now, speaking of staking, to stake your TRU tokens, you deposit them into the staking contract through the staking dashboard. And then when you do, you receive Stake True or STK True in return. This is a separate ERC20 token that represents your stake. And you'll use your Stake True to vote on whether to approve or deny various loans and for governance decisions. And it's also your key to receive your TRU tokens when you unstake. It's important to understand the potential risks and rewards of staking. The rewards are 10% of all interest paid on loans, so right now it's just under 30% APY. That's really high, but it's important to note that as a staker, you also take some of the risk of a loan defaulting. So right now there's a risk of up to 10% of your stake being liquidated in the case of a default. Now there haven't been any defaults so far, and they've already loaned out about $230 million with almost $150 million paid back. But it is a risk that's important to consider. I like this because stakers are incentivized to participate in the loan approval process. If you approve a bad loan, your stake is at risk. But if you don't approve loans, then you're missing out on potential upside from those interest payments. The current loan approval process isn't really scalable, so in the future, stakers will vote on businesses as they're onboarded, and then the loans or even lines of credit those businesses can access will be determined algorithmically. Now, before we move on, let's talk a little bit about being a lender. To lend on the protocol, you deposit your stablecoin into one of the lending pools, and in return, you'll receive a TrueFi version of that token, similar to what you get from staking. The difference is your lending tokens aren't transferable. You can't trade them on the secondary market. But what you can do is farm them for additional TRU tokens. Let's say you deposit 1,000 USDC in a pool and you receive TF USDC as a receipt. At the time of recording, that USDC can earn a 3.5% APY. But if you take your TF USDC and deposit on the farm page, you can earn an additional 13.5% on top of that, at least as long as these farming rewards continue. And when you deposit your USDC in the pool, the protocol puts that to work in major DeFi protocols like Aave or Compound, even if it's not being actively loaned out on TrueFi. That way, none of the capital in the pools is just idly sitting by. I know this whole system takes some time to wrap your mind around, and we haven't dug into the details a whole lot, but if you're interested in learning more, check out the interview I did with Rafael, and then go check out the protocol for yourself. Now let's take a look at the tokenomics. I've mentioned the various tokens used on the platform, but let's clarify what each of them are for. The TRU token is the native token of the protocol. It's used for staking and as a reward to incentivize ecosystem development and adoption. STK True or Stake True is your receipt for staking, and you use that for governance decisions and loan approvals. Then you have the 3 TrueFi Lending tokens that represent the 3 stablecoins currently available for lending. Now let's look at the TRU token distribution. 39% is for farming incentives that I just mentioned, 26.75% is for the presale, 18.5% for the team, 11.25% for the foundation, and 4.5% is reserved for future team members. Notably, there wasn't a public sale, and the biggest proportion of tokens are for incentives, which drive the growth of the protocol. That means it's likely most of the token holders are people who are actually using and participating, which is great. Now with the token release schedule, this has changed a few times since launch based on community votes. I like this because it shows governance so far has been going well, despite the fact that it's not all on chain yet. And there's a lot more that's changed with the tokenomics through community votes since launch, so I've linked an article in the description that goes through all of this. Overall, I'm impressed with TrueFi. I think they take a good mix of DeFi and CeFi, and they're the first to market in uncollateralized loans, which means there's tremendous upside here if they continue to grow and gain adoption. Just don't take my word for it. If you'd like to know more and gain a deeper understanding of how this all works and the direction that TrueFi is going, be sure to check out that interview I did with TrueFi CEO Rafael Cosman. I enjoyed the interview, and there's a ton of good info in there. But what do you think about TrueFi? Do you think uncollateralized loans have a place in DeFi, despite the centralized aspect? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe while you're at it. Then come join our Explorers Discord group, linked in the description, if you'd like to discuss it more in depth. Thanks so much for watching, and keep exploring.